This is called Forever is a Long Time. A great white bird wheels wide through the sky, finding no trace of you, not even a footprint, bruising the yellow flowers in a distant valley. Once I could feel you like a smile upon the knowing darkness. Without name or face, you were the presence behind all imaginings. Now there is a barren wilderness through which my unleashed hounds search and scent, scratching at the clouds and gnawing at the corners of reality. Tiny in a vast, empty landscape, I whistle my hunters home. No voice will call my name and no hand encircle me with warmth again. And forever is a long time. Oh look, forever is a long, terrible time. And here's something a little bit different called Sculptors and Singers. The sculptors of exquisite spiralling structures of warm-hued wood or metal. The hummers of sounds breaking through to Sora's music. The wordsmiths fashioning poems and woodsmen tending the trees, all expressing the same energy. The desire to create so strong that it becomes yearning. A passion that long ago was seen as mystical, and they who shaped its magic, the priests and sages. This one's called Country Graveyard, just to cheer the job up a bit. Tree whispered to tree, and wind spoke to grass. But the dead in their wicker caskets didn't reach out to touch hands or even speak to each other. So perhaps it doesn't really matter where our bones lie as we dance in other dimensions. Changing endings. Scattered like exotic. Have I done this one? I think so. Okay. Changing endings. Scattered like exotic flowers along pathways, dusty roadsides, and peaceful resting places lie the loves of my life, incandescent in the mists of passing years. I leave them undisturbed, excuse me, with no desire to change what was into what might have been, in case these were the best possible endings. This is just called The Box. She lived in a musty old cardboard box with a slit like a letterbox to peer out at the world. People passed and disappeared, coming and going, and light turned into dark in the forgetting of days. Sometimes she closed the spy hole to stop them from passing, and occasionally bashed her fists against the soggy walls in frustration because she couldn't know whether they still existed once they passed from view. And when no one passed, she wasn't sure that she was real. Praise be. Praise be the silvery slug and the iridescent bluebottle, feasting on our spills and slime. Applaud the glorious worms dragging our gunk deep beneath soil to transform it into lush humus. Celebrate the splendid organisation of ants, dung beetles and vultures cooperating to cleanse and create a purer world, while we, the dirtiest of creatures, revelling in an earth tarnished by our waste and filth, without them would drown in our own extravagance. Landscape with birds flying. Wind upon my skin, the sound of water. Birds flap blackly across my eyes. But in a shift of perception, as some dark, deep inner movement flows towards light, they are images upon a screen, and there I find you too, not as you, but as a breathing in the air, and a singing added to the unheard rhythms of silence. And it is nothing to do with you and me, it is just water and wind and birds flying. Another lockdown poem. It's time for compassion and the spurning of selfishness. When mortality disturbs our nights and old habits spike our days, it's time to realise how many hours there are in every day. Instead of venting and resenting, we can give space and time a chance to analyse our addictions, or maybe find the compassion to acknowledge that the heart beating in each of us syncopates with all living things. Perhaps all this spare time will allow us to explore compassion and love the new, even discovering what love means. Sorry about it. These are the ones I've chosen. I think this was one of the very first poems I ever got published. It's called Evening Poem. Sitting on a rotting bench between the trees, you kissed me. Wind was cool, scattering leaves along the ground. Your mouth was hard, then soft, then merging with mine until our lips were one. My hair blew across my cheek, cool lips entwined, long hair caressing, and the fresh wind blew silky as cool grass. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I am at all. This one's called Tuning In. Grass rough against my cheek, I lie with ear to the ground, listening for the reverberation of hoofbeats, sound waves, footsteps, the vibrations by which my ancestors predicted the probable. But as I tune in to the earth's faint pulse, I feel a pull of energy in the beating of my heart. Deep in the earth's unheard singing, something ancient stirs, and moves me to tears. And I'm finished. Okay. This one's called The Sound of Screaming Waiting to be Finished. And it was my thoughts about how it must have been during the Industrial Revolution when people were forced into factories. So from rural jobs they'd often finished up just working with metal or wood. This is the sound of screaming waiting to be finished. We didn't even finish our screaming as they ransacked our cottages and herded us into the cities, where gaunt, tall buildings stared blankly into each other's windows. We didn't even finish our weeping as they requisitioned our gardens and fields and prodded us along the dirty, shadowed streets, where not even coltsfoot or rosebay could find a niche to root and flower. We didn't even finish our agony as they forced us to work at machines, making objects of cold metal and unliving plastic, while they bulldozed the trees and uprooted the land. But through the noises of the city echo the sounds of weeping, and in all our lives there is the touch of agony, and perpetually in our heads is the sound of screaming waiting to be finished. That's it, thank you. How have we done for